Let's review the different approaches in teaching. First is the teacher-centered approach. The teacher is perceived to be the only reliable source of the information, while subject matter-centered is that the subject gains primacy over the learners. And then teacher-dominated, it talks about the authority of the teacher inside the classroom, while the banking approach is that the teacher deposits knowledge into the empty minds of the students, then the teacher will, and then ma-withdraw siya during the examination. Banking approach is mag-deposit ng knowledge, then i-withdraw during examination. Let's proceed. Now, I have a question. Why do you think students get bored easily? I'll give you 10 seconds to reflect on this. Okay. Actually, guys, the reason why students get bored easily is because of technology. Okay, hindi naman masama yung technology kasi kagaya nga, ngayon, we are using technology where we are embracing it because andito na tayo. So, the reason bakit students nowadays gets bored easily, it's because of technology. Because everything, especially yung mga yung mga students na they were the students that were belong in the especially those students who were belong to the digital natives. Kasi everything is instant for them. Na they were used to technology na. So that's why research says that children ages 5 to 8 years old have at least diba, even when we pay bills, pwede na lang sa internet. Just one click and then di mo na kailangan magpila sa banks and other establishments na kailangan mong bayaran. So, the question is, ano yung gagawin natin na mga teachers? Will we stick on the traditional approach or not? So, that's the question. So, I remember before na I remembered before na pinapadebate talaga ito ng mga teachers, this issue, whether will we adapt to the change, will we adapt with the technology or not? And my answer is this. Change is inevitable. Di mo yan siya maiiwasan. Diba everything change? The only constant thing in the world is change. That's why even our educational system should change. Okay? And one of the changes na nangyari sa generation natin ngayon, one of the changes isa sa mga changes na nangyari, one of the changes na nangyari sa ating educational system is Why do we need to change? It's because children or students or the learners why do we need to change? It's because iba na yung mga stakeholders natin. When I say stakeholders, I'm referring to the students. Why do we need to change? It's because iba na yung mga learners natin. Different from the learners before. Learners today wants to have fun while learning. Sorry sa typo. Mali po siya ng pag-type. It's fun in learning. Correction. So, learners wants to have fun. Yan lang talaga yung gusto nila. So, why don't we incorporate play and at the same time learning? Playing while learning. Wrong. That's why we really need to change. And ito po yung nangyari. The good thing is that our educational the change kaniya po si change. Now, there is a reform in our educational system because of these new trends that is happening now. And it's learner-centered teaching. Diba kanina we've discussed about the different approaches. Now, since meron ng technology and that's why we also need to adapt. And one of these is to change our educational system. Not totally change, but at least will alter our educational system. And will adapt this teaching approach. So what is this learner-centered teaching? Learner-centered means it's an approach that places the learner at the center of the learning. This means that the learner or students is responsible for learning while the teacher is responsible for facilitating the learning. This is also known as student-centered learning. Guys, this approach, we're actually using this approach. Guys, we're actually using this approach. 'Di ba? Napansin niyo na we're using online. Now, we're using online. Now, we're using the ODEL or the online distance e-learning. And, isa yan siya sa mga pwede yan siya ma-fall dito sa learner-centered approach. Kasi, you are responsible for your own learning. We are just here to facilitate you. Hindi na kami yung sage on the stage. Ngayon, kami na yung guide on the side. And what is ano ba yung positive side kapag gumagamit ka ng learner-centered teaching? For me, marami kang time na ma-save, hindi ka masyadong ma-stress kasi 'di ba kung teacher dominated kasi or teacher centered, you do all the talking. While in the learner centered, you don't. All you need to do is to give tasks to your students. Assign tasks to your learners. And then, i-facilitate mo sila. Yun. The benefit for the students is that meron silang ownership for their learning. And also, mas nakaka-learn sila kapag sila mismo yung nag-discover ng mga meaning. And also, mas nakaka-learn sila if they discover their own meaning. Now, let's discuss the 5 characteristics of the learner-centered teaching according to Weimer. First is, learner-centered teaching encourages students in the hard work of learning. That's true, right? Even kayo ngayon, you're putting a lot of effort than before because you are doing it alone. And then, kasi when you use learner-centered, you're just giving tasks, so the learners do all the work. You're just there to facilitate them. That's why hard work talaga yung kailangan dito. Students, hindi ka pwedeng mag-procrastinate. Kailangan mong magsikap on your own to learn. Next is learner-centered teaching includes explicit skill instruction. Let's discuss the 5 characteristics of learner-centered teaching according to Weimer 2012. According to Weimer 2012. First, learner-centered teaching engages students in the hard work of learning. Actually, before, teachers are doing too many learning tasks for students. Why? 'Di ba yung teacher yung mag-check, yung teacher yung magbibigay ng scores, yung teacher yung mag-organize sa class, siya pa yung maglilinis, ano pa, especially sa elementary, ikaw pa yung mag-arrange ng mga chairs, ikaw din yung magiging instant yaya ka, magiging instant nurse, ano pa, ikaw mag-measure ng mga height nila, ng mga weight and everything. So, imagine, kaya ba yan imagine a teacher doing all the tasks inside the classroom. At the end of the day, a teacher will be very exhausted. That's why it's a very good thing kasi we're using learner-centered teaching now. Kasi mas na lesson yung task ng teacher. Why na lesson. Kasi instead of discussing everything in front of your students, what you need to do is to assign tasks, or you can group them and then assign a leader to lead the group, and then solve na. You can just sit down and from time to time, just monitor them for their progress. Diba? Learner-centered teaching is really a very good approach in teaching. Next, learner-centered teaching includes explicit skill Learner-centered teaching includes explicit skill instruction. Learner-centered teachers teach students how to think, solve problems, evaluate evidence, analyze arguments, generate hypotheses. So all those learning skills essential to mastering material in the discipline. But not all students can learn these skills. Because there are some students, especially yung mga mentally challenged students, they'll have a hard time coping with your lesson. So as a teacher, you also need to adjust for them so that you'll have a fair classroom environment. Kasi there are times na sa sobrang assume mo na alam na ng mga students mo kung ano yung gagawin nila, you might overlook some students na nahihirapan pala. That's why we really need to be cautious and give extra attention to those challenging learners. Next is, learner-centered teaching encourages students to reflect on what they are learning and how they are learning. Actually, teacher makes too many of the decision about learning for students. Diba? Teacher decides what students should learn, how they learn it, the phase of how they will learn, the condition under which they learn, and then teacher determines whether students have learned. The learners aren't in the position to decide what content should be included in the course or which textbook is best. But when teacher makes all the decision, the motivation to learn decreases. Instead na ma-motivate sila na mag-learn, ma-decrease na yung motivation nila. Kasi, yung nangyayari is, nasa teacher na lang lahat yung dictations, yung authority. In the learner-centered teachers should let the students decide, not all the time pero there should be times na i-let niya yung student yun na mag-decide whether kailan ang deadlines, kung ano yung mga rules and regulations nyo inside the class. Actually, you can do that. I-let mo yung students mo na mag-suggest kung ano ba yung rules and regulation. Kasi through that, parang meron silang authority or meron silang ownership sa kanilang rules and regulation. Kasi sila mismo yung nag-suggest nun, di ba? If nag-disobey sila, then you can pwede mong mabalik sa kanila na, kayo ba ang nag-suggest na ganito yung rules natin. So, you really need to follow. Like that. You can also give chance for them to decide on what, You can also ask your students to help you create criterias. That's possible. So that's it. Do not just do not make everything. Let your students or let your learners contribute to their own learning. Kasi yung mga learners mo, hindi yan sila blank slate. Meron din yan silang mga very nice ideas, creative ideas na pwede nilang makontribute sa inyong klase. Next. Learner-centered teaching motivates students by giving them some control over learning processes. In casual conversations, you can actually update your students. Kasi, mas nice kung yung teacher meron siyang rapport sa students niya. Diba, even you guys, you like teachers who's like a friend to you. But, of course, meron ding boundaries. What I mean is that you can update your learners informally. Like, "Uy, kamusta na? Tapos na yung kwan mo? Yung assignment na pinagawa ko?" Or, "Kamusta ka na? How was..." You can also update during your class hours about their progress in their assignments or projects. Why is feedbacking, why is updating important? It's because you want your students to you also need to give feedbacks after your every after your activities. Bakit? Why do we really need to give feedback? It's for our learners to reflect whether yung ginawa ba nila is tama or mali. Kasi if you'll just let them, then madala-dala yun nila. Yun tama lang man day, okay raman day ito kay ma'am na inga. No, not speaking Bisaya. If you won't give feedback, then they'll think that it's just okay to do that even if it's wrong. That's why it's very important to give feedbacks. Feedbacks doesn't always need to be negative, okay? Diyan mo rin sila bigyan ng praises to motivate them to do better the next time or to do it phrases will motivate your students to always do the best. Phrases motivates your students to always do their best. Next. Learner-centered teaching encourages collaboration. Even if it's online or face-to-face, Learner-centered teachers recognizes and research consistently confirms that students can learn from and with each other. Certainly, the teacher has the expertise and an obligation to share it, but teachers can learn from students as well. Kasi yung learning process is, the learning is active if there's an exchange of information from both the teacher and the students. Kasi hindi lang po kami yung nag-give ng information. The learners or the students should also contribute. Kasi we are also learning. You never stop learning. Even if you, kahit mag-graduate na kayo, hindi. You'll still need to undergo a lot of corrections, lot of studies pa to improve yourself. Hanggang magtanda tayo, learning doesn't stop. That's why group activities are also very important inside your classroom because they can learn from each other. Meron ngang mga memes na makita ko good na sharp talaga. Yung parang may arrow, tapos kapag yung teacher ang magturo, parang hindi siya bullseye doon sa utak mo. Hindi mo masyadong maintindihan. Pero, later, if you'll ask your classmate, uy, friend, unsa ganitong ingon ano ba yung gisabi ni ma'am? Ano ba yung lecture natin? Hindi ko naintindihan. Can you explain it to me? And then, when your friends will explain it to you, for sure, you'll understand it completely. So, that's why collaboration is very important. Meron ding activity na tawag dyan yung think, pair, share, where both of you will contribute ideas to each other. Okay. So, that's it. That's the end of our discussion. And for my resources, dito ko siya kinuha lahat. I'll just upload the PDF file for this so that you can read it. I'll just upload the PDF file for this so that you can read it again. And also, I'll upload the PDF file and also I'll upload the PDF file for my resources. Thank you.